All our members are present and our liaison. Can we have a motion to approve the May agenda, or does somebody want to amend it, add anything? Okay. Informally, do we want a motion or for approving it? March meeting minutes, we need to approve. Allison did them and sent them out. I think I copied everybody.
It's April meeting.
It's for the April meeting minutes, which I have here.
You call it March, but it's
I'm
April.
sorry. Because I did send, well, we'll get to that later. So the April 9th meeting, the last one we had on Tuesday. You'll make a motion to do that? Okay. A second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, approval? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. And I'll just say, which I probably emailed to you guys, to set up our page, which Dole's working on with Mike and Cindy. I did send out, and I'll send these minutes to tomorrow to Cindy. They have on the website now, they do have our 3 agendas for March, April, and May, and the minutes from March. And my question was at the beginning, I had asked Cindy, the letters that you sent in, the letters of intent to be on the committee, could we post them on the website? Right now, it just has our names. And I thought, you all have such great resumes. I thought maybe, a resident should know, who you are, where you're coming from. So if you're okay with that, I can let Cindy know. I mean, she's got them all already, but, okay. Alrighty. I'm gonna put down courtesy of the floor or public comment, unless there's something urgent. Can we wait until we have Tara give her presentation? Because she's so busy. I don't wanna keep her here till 9 or 10 o'clock if she's done it, whatever. But is that okay? Anybody have any urgent messages or questions? All right, we'll wait and roll them all together after presentation. So Tara is on the Lower Delaware Wildland Scenic Management Committee, Council Committee, and it was, I sent everybody that little blue booklet, and it really explains it very well in there. And so you have all this, the committee, and then every municipality has a representative, and Tara is for the other side of the river. Martin Jacoby just signed our letter of support and nominated me as their representative, and I think we'd like to have Jeff be the representative for Mount Bethel once we get that far. So right now, it's quarterly virtual meetings, and actually anybody can attend them. All you need is the link, but they're always on the last Thursday of the month between 10 and 11:30.
I think, is it the last?
Is it the last or the fourth? I don't remember. But in any case,
One of them.
and you can sit in and listen. Sometimes there's not very many people there, but it's a chance to voice. And I've been harping for the last year or so about RPL and stuff. Kara's been talking about I-80 and 601 and what have you. But yes, so we will get to that point at some time. So she's representing them now with, I forgot, Robert. The 2 of them decided about a year ago. You wanted to come back to all of the partnerships up and down the river and reaffirm that they wanted to be in the designation, but also to expand out to the different streams. So, Tara's done this, probably can do it in her sleep. So, I'm gonna turn this over to her and let her get going.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Tara Mezzanotte, and tonight I get to wear the fun hat of Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic, which is different than the way you've seen me around with the fun-sucking project with the DOT. So I am the representative on the Management Council for Warren County. Knowlton Township has a representative as well. I was Knowlton's representative for a while, and then the county said we might as well do this. So it was so long. How long would you like me to make sure I don't go past?
Our captive audience. We don't have a whole lot afterwards. So
You don't? Okay, I just wanted to.
Half an hour, 3/4 of an hour,
Yeah,
whatever.
I just wanted, that's what my thought was. I
Yeah,
just wanted to
okay.
make sure that was
Yeah.
the case before I get going with the fun version is the slow version for me also. So it was long ago, so I'll tell you a little bit about what we are. So the Lower Delaware Partnership Wild and Scenic River starts way up just below the gap itself. up here, my cursor seen, let me get my little pointer going. One second. There we go. All right, right here is Slateford Creek. That is where the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area ends. The reason there's colors up above that is Upper Mount Bethel goes further up to Point of Gap, and Knowlton Township, Hardwick Township goes further up to Point of Gap. So there's a piece of Hardwick Township that's up there also. The entire what's considered the lower Delaware Wild and Scenic starts at Slateford Creek and goes all the way down to Washington's Crossing. Okay, so I just wanted, before I get into this, just give you the map, give you a feel for it, so you have an idea of the boundaries that we're talking about here. The partnership part of this is we are in the National Wild and Scenic Rivers System. This is a program of the National Wild and Scenic Rivers System. It's administered by the National Park Service, and we have a 501c3, which is called the Delaware Greenway Partnership, that has a role in this as well. And we all make up the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic River Group. Okay, why we're here. I'm going to, in this case, reintroduce the Lower Delaware to the municipality, even though you guys were not around back in the day when it was originally introduced. I'm going to let you know about the study that Judy was mentioning. We're studying adding segments that were not designated back when this was created in 2000. So we're looking to add segments that were not designated, which ours, the Knowlton Upper Mount Bethel segment, is one of them. And since we're doing that, we can go look at all the tributaries top to bottom. So I have the lead for Northampton County and for Warren County for all the tributaries top to bottom. And we're inviting you guys to join our partnership, because I don't think Upper Mount Bethel ever formally joined, right? You guys were a part of the study, but did you ever?
We did a resolution, but it was only us, and they didn't want to spend all the time and energy to go to Congress to get it amended into the
Got it.
study.
So you did later on.
Yeah, hold off and we'll get a few more involved, and that didn't happen.
We're here.
Just,
Here we are now.
Here we are.
Here we are. So the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, in 1968, it was signed into law. The reason this was happening is 30s to 50s, 60s, everything was dam everything. You know, that's the Hoover Dam and everything else going on out out west. They were damming these rivers, and some of that land was federal land, and people were saying, wait a minute, there has to be a way to protect pristine waters from this damming. So it was a response to the damming is why the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act was created. So back then, they pretty much said that certain rivers, less than 1/2% of the nation's waters are designated wild and scenic. So back then, they said there's certain rivers that possess outstandingly remarkable values. That means they're the top, most rare, unique, special at the state, regional, or federal level of scenic value, recreational value, geologic, fish and wildlife, historic properties, cultural values, things like that are just so special that it's all about these values. The values is what makes it, these waters and this region that the waters come from, so special that they should be preserved in a free-flowing condition. Free-flowing meaning there's not going to be a dam once it's designated. If there is a dam, it doesn't prohibit designation as long as there's water still flowing. Dams don't stop. There's always some kind of outflow somewhere. So as long as there's a trickle, they can be in our system. But so dams don't prohibit, but once you're in, it's not going to be a dam. So again, this was in a response to say, let's stop the damming, and that the waters and their immediate environment. So it's not just the water. Of course, the values are connected to the land, and what the reason certain things are near these waters is because the water is there, such as the historic properties, the mills, and the fish and the wildlife, and it's scenic, all, and the geology is all special, largely because of the water, that these will be protected for the benefit of present and future generations. So that's pretty much what the act said. Back to our partnership. Back then, in 1968, the Wild and Scenic River System was created. It falls under the Department of Interior. As I said, it's a partnership between the National Park Service, and in our case, because we're a partnership Wild and Scenic River, state and local entities, and we are required to have a budget, a 501c3 for monies to come down through. So let me go back to our map and speak more about the partnership. Back when they were in response to the damming, they were largely on federal lands, okay? So, like the Middle Delaware, which is in the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, above Slateford Creek, up to the top, like up by Milford, that is already on federal land. So that's a traditional model, not the partnership model, where the land is all federally owned, and it's managed and administered by the National Park Service. Somewhere along the way, actually it was in response to the Tox Island thing. So Tox Island was happening, and people were saying there has to be a way to protect lands that are also on private lands, because that was going to affect way up above. So in response, they wanted to do the upper Delaware, which is kind of like above Milford and up to the dams up top. How do we create a wild and scenic river system when some of it's federal, some of it's state, some of it's private? And they created the model that we fall under today, which is we're the pure partnership model. That's no federal land. The waters travel all through local municipalities, people's backyards, some county-owned land, some state-owned land. So they came up with a model that says, okay, the National Park Service still administers, they're still responsible to make sure we follow the rules of the act, we follow the laws. There's certain things that have to be done a certain way, and there's certain things that have to be present, and we have to be following certain rules. That's the National Park Service, part of the National Park Service's role. And one of them is, in order for the money to come down through the Department of Interior, the act says a 501c3 must be established for the purpose of managing those monies. I should say passing through those monies as the management council says they should be spent. Every municipality, by law, if they want to participate, has to pass a resolution of support. Only if they do is their segment then in the study to then possibly move on to Congress to then become part of the designation. So, for example, Knowlton and Upper Mount Bethel did not support this by the time the study was done, so our segment was not designated. Every municipality, though, even in the undesignated segments, has the option to be on our management council. All decisions are made by our management council. It's like real true democracy. Like, we are like a little country, and the municipalities are the people that vote. And some nonprofits are part of the management council as well, but every municipality, they know, they have a seat on that board, that council, and they vote on everything, like how we spend our money. But again, the National Park Service says the monies have to be spent towards activities that support our management plan. Okay, so the partnership is really only for rivers like, are you familiar with the Musconetcong in Jersey? Mm-hmm. That's another partnership wild and scenic river, okay?
Did you say that, so if we pass the resolution, even if we don't pass the resolution, we still can vote? Is that what you said?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. You can come to our management council meetings.
Yeah.
You can pass the resolution. So let's say, to get granular on it,
Yeah.
you wanted to support, but let's say Knowlton did it. You would still be on our management council,
Mm-hmm.
but Knowlton didn't support, so your segment wouldn't be designated.
Gotcha, we would just.
But you would
we
still-
We would sit on it and we could vote on the.
on what we're doing
what we're
for the
doing
management
everything
plan,
else,
yes.
but we just wouldn't be,
Yes,
and we need Knowlton to also.
and they do,
Okay.
yeah, they're on board,
Okay,
that's where you're gonna go next, right?
yeah.
Where's Knowlton?
Yeah.
Portland has a resolution up, for Monday night,
Gotcha.
for next Monday also.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we understand the partnership thing, since this is the long version, I'm jumping around. Okay, so back to this one, so back down to our 501c3. Right now, it's $210,000 a year, that goes to each of the partnership wild and scenics. So a chunk of money gets appropriated, for the purpose of wild and scenic rivers. That goes in from the Department of Interior, gets that money. Some of that money stays in other programs like, whatever they are called out west, not National Park Service, some of the other big land.
Bureau of Land Management.
Thank you,
Yeah.
those other letters.
Those guys.
That, exactly. So those other ones, they get money, but it's not Partnership Wild and Scenic. All Partnership Wild and Scenic, the money allotted for Partnership Wild and Scenic goes to the National Park Service. And then the National Park Service they make the decision on if this is a 10-mile wild and scenic river, how much do they get compared to a 210-mile wild and scenic river? And to date, they've decided, we don't care how many people, how much water, how much land, they've just kept it across the board. Everybody gets 210 to work with. And again, that gets dropped into our 501c3, and then we have a budget we manage every year, and we decide how to spend that. Some of that's administrative, we have staff that helps us with stuff. And as I said, there's our management council, and the council is responsible to implement the management plan, which, by the way, is gonna be updated because of this project. So you guys can help us to the extent that anybody wants to be involved in updating our management plan, because really, a lot of the waters north of Easton
Yeah.
are very likely coming in at this time, where the designation stopped at Harmony. Okay, so that's our chunk, that's us, go us. And Lower Mount Bethel passed their resolution a bit ago, so the Lower Mount Bethel is already on, as well. So here's our timeline. In 1992, a group of people had already done enough background work and had already solicited enough support to go to their congressman or woman at that time, and they secured what's called the Wild and Scenic River Study. So that was the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic River Study. So that's requirements of that is it had to be done within 3 years. It's fully funded by the federal government, and they needed to do a bunch of things as required by the law. In 1997, that group then worked on what is currently right now our management plan. They created a management committee back then, we now call it the Management Council, and they went to all the municipalities. Upper Mount Bethel was a part of the process. Judy, you were a part of the process, the original study process, were you not?
A little bit, but Jeff's mom and dad had been before.
Yes,
They used to go to all the meetings before I was going.
I forgot about that. So we have history. So everybody participated, and in the end, the municipalities had to make a decision, do they wanna support? I can tell you largely the reason was fallout from Tox Island. We were so burnt up here that, the general response I hear is, we didn't wanna be a guinea pig. With anything that had to do with the federal government, brown hats, none of it. Not being a guinea pig, let other people do it. Since 2000, when all this time, none of whatever the fears that were legitimate, whatever people thought might happen, could happen, whatever they could foresee and not foresee, nothing bad happened, or everybody would be here screaming about it. It just didn't happen. So in 2000, our act was actually passed, and we became what we are. All this time, the group, which is pretty much below Easton, Holland.
Holland.
Holland, thank you. Holland Township and below, going down to New Hope and all them, they've really been the ones participating because that was their segment got designated, and they've been championing their projects ever since. We had some activity up here. Lower Mount Bethel was a part of this for quite some time, and then that petered out over time. But Robert came up with it. Robert in our organization said, he's from Solberry, that's by New Hope. He said, why don't we look at the undesignated segments and the creeks? And that's how this thing started. And then because I was at the management council meetings for Knowlton Township, I heard this, and he said, we're doing a project, anybody know of any tributaries? And I said, yeah, we got the pollen skill in my backyard, it's obvious. Incidentally, I just wanna introduce Karen Lance, if I could call you out, too bad. She's a Blairstown committee woman. This became so fun as we then brought this over to Blair, up the pollen skill. Knowlton has supported this study, Hardwick Township has supported the study, Blairstown supported the study. Karen, as the committee woman, right away said, well, what happens if we wanna do the full wild and scenic for the whole pollen skill? That was almost a year ago that came up, and a group has decided to do that. So we're having a baby, it seems. We're gonna hopefully have one on just the other side. So Karen's here because we're involved in that project, and she wants to see how the presentation goes.
Tara?
Yes.
Do you want us to hold questions? Do you want us
It's
ask
up to
as
you.
go?
You can shoot away. Interrupt.
Considering that we do have some of our esteemed
Yes.
supervisors in the room with us.
Yes.
You mentioned a couple towns that have already passed resolutions.
Yes.
Is there a timeline by which these have to be passed?
We are not there yet.
Okay.
We've been doing this for over a year. There will be a time where it's like last call.
Yeah.
It's time to do it or not.
I just wanted to know if we needed to start leaning on these guys.
No. The resolution takes time to develop.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is creating the record for the National Park Service to include in their report. Because remember, this has to go, if this goes through, this goes to our congressional representative. And then this has to go through appropriations.
Yeah.
With the National Park Service study report. And you gotta, you can't just be saying, we wanna do this. We have to show the body of evidence as to, I'm gonna get into the criteria in a moment, but the resolution is a support document that really outlines the criteria having been met.
Awesome.
So, I'll be,
If I can interrupt, Allison and both Charlie know from March for the Watershed, you put together a really nice support letter. So a resolution and a support letter, then that all gets bundled together, and then it's off to the Congress.
yes.
So, yeah. But we won't let any grass grow under our feet, because the longer it lays out there.
Oh, yeah, no, we're gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be asking, when part of the ask for the evening is who is, able to use the internet to do research and stuff like that, and who might wanna draft this resolution with me.
Awesome.
Or a few people, a little subcommittee kind of thing. Okay, so where are we heading? Let's see. Okay, the criteria for designation. This criteria is what is required for any wild and scenic river, okay? And the process of designation is the same for any wild and scenic river. So the first box on the left is the discussion with the lead agency. We're already wild and scenic, okay, so we don't need the full wild and scenic study. We are conducting a study right now, just like the pollen skill, when it gets to its congressional study, we're about that same phase right now. So in our case, we're doing what we call a modified study with no funds, volunteer resources. So if the Congress didn't approve its own study, we already have a designated river, we already have a management plan, we already have some level of local support. The act allows for this process. And what we're doing is we're determining if it's, has the criteria to be eligible and suitable. So eligible, I told you earlier, it must be free-flowing, and it must have these outstandingly remarkable values. Those are called ORVs. So that's the part of the ORV work is the grunt work before the resolution, because we are documenting, I'll just, like an interesting one, for example, is geologic, the Otten Creek. Right away, I was like, wait a minute, it disappears, it's not free-flowing, right? At the end, it just kind of poof, it goes like there's water and then there's no water. And it was brought to my attention that that's because it goes underground through the karst. Is that the right way to say it? Karst. But it still enters the river. So that is still a flow. So that becomes a geological outstandingly remarkable value. That is rare, that is unique, and that's special. So that's the kind of research we need to do. And the DEP has great GIS web interface for these, for the historic properties, for the threatened and endangered species. So the ones that are, it checks the box automatically is, are you in a natural heritage priority site where there's rare plants? Are there known threatened and endangered species? Check. Are there historic properties? Check. Things like that are the easy ones. I mean, gosh, you got Lake Mincy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just overfloweth. So that's right. It's gonna take a while to do your resolution, cause you have so many. And it's not, when this thing started, I knew you need one. So I caught on that we just need to get one.
Yeah.
And then I realized, whoa, this whole thing's going to Congress. We really need to document them and do right by the waters.
It may not be that hard, because the first study that I was reading, all of the different species in that are listed, and I was looking on one of the things you had here, another area, and they had landings, which is bog turtle, ospreys and eagles. I'm there, like you said, check, check, check. We have so much of that. Plus you could go back to the 95 or later 2000s Nature Conservancy and the Western Conservancy's areas of statewide significance. There was like 20 in our township. Those things are like out there. But like you said, maybe that's an online, you can gather all that from there.
What we're doing is we're limiting, for consistency, we're limiting it to what the DEP has on their site.
Okay.
Because then, it's current, it's verifiable,
Yeah.
and it's a consistent, so we're not going back to, all the other studies, even though they're out there. I mean, I mentioned the Martin's Jacoby watershed, assessment. I mean, I use a lot of that and I referenced it in there, because it was a great resource, and it was the right thing to do. But, suitability, there's three things related to suitability. Should the values be protected? So, should the free-flowing water quality, high water quality, somehow I don't have this one on here. You must start at a high water quality. The shame of this is, the federal government's not gonna protect poor water, water that doesn't support trout, for example. Is that worth protecting? Unfortunately, they wanna protect what's already pretty good, so that it stays pretty good. You need to start with a pretty good water quality, and all your creeks are there. Or are there any conflicting river uses? Back when they did this original study, Med-Ed was a PPNL, whatever it was back in the day, was a conflicting river use. That segment right there was therefore excluded. It could not have been designated back then, because you had the power plant pumping in hot water and causing all kinds of problems for the water quality coming out of that place. So that's an example of, are there other conflicting river uses? Second one is, will the river's values be protected through this designation? Is this the best method for protecting the river corridor? So in this case, you already have a lot of waters and lands and watershed that's protected, some that's not. but that's at the state and the county level. You know, what happens when the state, federal level trumps state? So by doing this, the way it's explained to me, you now have certain federal protections because of the act. So should the state decide to one day, we're talking 50 years from now, whatever dystopian state we're in and people are doing nasty things with everything, these waters would be protected theoretically under another level of protections. So they're deserving of it, they should be, and by doing this, they will get another level of protection. Is there a demonstrated commitment to protect by non-federal agencies? And that's us, and that's what we're doing here. So in this case, by the municipalities supporting, that's, you're expressing that you will participate in the protections of these waters. Another box that gets checked on here is where your county owns some of these properties. You know, your county is great. Your county is like far ahead of others when it comes to open space and conservation. So if the county owns anything, and if the state owns anything, if there's any of those resources present, that's just another box that gets checked of, it's already protected, so it's worthy of additional protections. It's a little counterintuitive, but that's the way it looks.
Well, on water, maybe I'm confused. I thought it was the Park Service, but it was a 5-year study, and the water was designated as special waters protection. Is that the Delaware River Basin Commission? Who did that? I'd have to go look it up and see where that was. In other words, they looked at the mussels and everything
Yes.
in the river and whatever and said, this is really is high quality.
Yes,
We're gonna give it this designation.
that falls under here, so it's under DEP.
Oh, okay.
I think that, so, yeah, if you have the mussels, you know, in Jersey it's 3 different ones, I don't know what it is for Pennsylvania, but, if you have, so that's another category, and you can find them on, that, they're monitoring already.
Right.
So that means the state's DEP is already monitoring, so that's another entity that's already participating in, protecting these waters, if that makes sense. A chunk of our money goes out to, in mini grants. We have a mini grant program, every year. It opens up in like November, December. It's about $5,000. It's a non-match. We call it fun money. This year we got 13 applicants. We chose 8 or 9 of them, got them, and they do fun projects. Sometimes there's schools, sometimes there's watershed associations. But if you pretty much can say your project fits in with any of those ORVs in any way, there's a way in our management plan that you're pretty much qualified. But it can't be private. It has to come through a nonprofit. So in the past, the Martins Jacoby Watershed Association had been a pass-through for some organizations. Another benefit of this is we tap into National Park Service funds. So if the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area can tap into a resource, so can we. So therefore, some fun projects have come our way because of it. Last summer, I participated in getting trained by the National Park Service to do a visual inventory assessment. So we went out, top to bottom, and we were trained, it was 3 days, plus online training with the gentleman who came out from Colorado, who trains everybody in any National Park Service unit. He's the guy that goes out and trains those staff, National Park Service employees, on how to do this thing. The manual's this thick. And then we spent 3 days with him, taking pictures and looking at the landscape and assessing that landscape, and that's going to be in the database, just like Yosemite and the other National Park Services. The Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic River will have pictures of our resources. What?
That's cool.
It was cool. It was fun. It was fun. I was like, yes, I'm in. And therefore, you can participate in these fun things in the future. So some of the key facts about the, let's see what I've touched on. We need the local community support Private property rights remain the same. Partnership Wild and Scenic. Nobody's gonna participate in this thing if that means the public is allowed on your land because your land touches wild and scenic waters. It's not gonna work. So your rights stay the same. There's no change whatsoever. They're just simply whatever is. Local and state zoning, and water management codes, ordinances, everything stays the same. We require nothing to change, and we can't make anything change. It's not possible. Eminent domain is not even allowed. Like, it's not, it just, we cannot acquire, it's not even we. The federal government cannot acquire your land through this program in any way. It's written right into the act. And we went over the management, you're gonna be represented on the management council. So I mentioned the management plan. The goals of the plan is maintaining and improving that water quality, protecting and preserving those natural resources, birds, bees, water, trees. Historical, cultural resources, where we have the viaduct in the background on here, the viaduct, that's gonna be seeing a major, rehabilitation for the Amtrak project. So that fits there. So let me speak to that for a moment. The act has a thing called Section 7, and that means that if a federal project is gonna happen and impact the waters or its surrounding environment, the National Park Service must have the option, an opportunity to review the project. So what's a federal project? Federal project means it's federally funded. Thankfully, the Rockfall Mitigation Project, that's using federal funds. So the National Park Service and the Delaware Water Gap is reviewing that project behind the scenes. It has to be reviewed by them, and their job, just like our National Park Service representative will be reviewing the viaduct, because that's federally funded, and it's a historic property. But they review these because if they wanna make a change to Mount Tammany, that affects the scenic quality, the geological value, the recreational experience, just about everything that we in this room care a lot about what we see and how we feel in the Delaware Water Gap. So their job is to review the project and make sure there isn't a less impactful way to accomplish the same. And unfortunately, that will also have to happen for 611. There's the overlap onto 611. It is not what's happening necessarily for an emergency project. It's not slowing down opening 611. That's an emergency project, has nothing to do with this. But when they get to the planned, what will they do about mitigating the slope right there? That will fall into there. The National Park Service doesn't stop projects. That's been asked. So they're not gonna come here and say they're gonna stop any project that might, for example, be in your town, hypothetically speaking, of course. But so they don't stop projects, and their goal is not to delay projects. So if early in the project development, they get the opportunity to review, they get to review and they go back and forth and try to mitigate harms. So federal is federally funded. If they go for a DEP permit, if they have to get a DEP permit, that is the same as EPA. So our state on both sides is really doing the job for the EPA. So that's the federal government gives those responsibilities to our state. That's when, if you're pulling a permit, they can review them, and the third one is, I'm not remembering. Loan, that's money. Sorry.
So, when you say review,
Yes.
is it just like recommendations, or can they actually is there any other power other than
There's
just
no
recommending things? Okay.
No, there's no, no, so their review, if other people wanted to use their review and take actions, they
Right.
could.
So it's kind of like
Professional opinion,
Gotcha. Okay.
that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
So back to the management plan, we encourage recreational use in a sustainable way. So we're not about stopping the use, we just want the same use. but we have, there's ways to do it that are not harmful. We encourage sustainable economic development around the waters, and we very much support open space preservation. Part of our money goes to Nature Conservancy. No, you guys are Heritage Conservancy, right? That you guys? Heritage, right, yeah, so we, we have actually funded some of the legal expenses or administrative fees for some of your land acquisition for Upper Mount Bethel Township. I know last year that was on one of our charts. Okay, so the benefits, it's a big fund, oh, that's us when we were taking pictures on the footbridge during our National Park Service inventory. The benefits, it's exciting, and to the extent that a municipality wants to promote ecotourism, for example, they can. If a municipality doesn't want that, they don't have to. You know, it's like, if they wanna put up wild and scenic signs at every place you see a wild and scenic anything, you can, but nothing's being put upon. That's complete home rule. You get to do what you want with this. Certainly potential increase of property values, protecting the resources for present and future. If you have every municipality top to bottom, how many, us in this room tonight talking about this, you know, the educational value, the awareness, when we do bring this, when you guys bring this to, hopefully to the board, you know, that's another meeting where we're yapping some more about this. I understand you got resolutions possibly, or ordinances for something. What do you got going, Charlie?
Well, water.
Right.
ordinance.
Right, so you have that kind of thing going on, other people hear about it, Lower Mount Bethel has some ordinances specific to this kind of thing. With all that going on, we are certainly protecting our waters at a whole different level if we're all participating in this management plan. If you go for grant applications, if you can check the box that says you're a wild and scenic river, you've just bumped yourself as worthy, whereas others might be under you. I don't wanna say not worthy, but you've really upped your competitiveness.
Get extra points.
Extra points, thank you, I was not getting there. You were like, come on, Tara, you can do it. That's it, land the plane. Thank you. Yes, you get extra points, and because you're wild and scenic, there's grant opportunities specific to waters that are wild and scenic, that are out there. So to the extent that you have a group that likes that kind of thing and is looking for grants, we connect you with those kind of things. Again, assuring the local communities that you're part of this whole process. We'll be updating our bylaws, we'll be updating our management plan to the extent that you guys wanna do that, you're with us. And as I said earlier, opening the door for National Park Service, not only the financial support, but technical support. There was one municipality down south that had massive destruction of a flooding, and the National Park Service came back with a $60,000 engineering review, best practices for them specifically on how to put in a riparian zone that would help mitigate the flood issues better and harden the area. So this is our project, yeah. I've been busy on the Jersey side. You are, Slateford's not on there, and the reason Slateford's not on there is we took it off when our National Park Service, we have a liaison, her name is Sarah. She reached out and had a discussion with the person responsible for Wild and Scenic Middle Delaware, and they discussed Slateford, and the fact is, the bottom little bit by the Slateford Inn is private, where it truly enters the Delaware. So that kinda checks the box that it's eligible to be in our study. But the whole rest of it, and the historic resources up there and everything, is already protected. It just makes no sense to,
Yeah, it doesn't, but I know Allison and Charlie and I with the watershed, we're
Yeah.
like, it's so important because Portland is getting their water from that watershed, and I understand that part of it, but when we do anything about our well ordinance or anything else, that's in our township, so it's kind of, you know, a little bit back and forth on who gets to own it, and I understand, Middle Delaware River, okay, but think, you know, what Martin Jacoby, Rich had
Yep.
put that in.
Yeah, and I had it on, and I had it in, I had it on there because, but we had taken it off, but we also originally had, the Bushkill Creek. And we had taken the Bushkill Creek off, and we had taken the Lehigh off, because Easton was like a med ed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, back in the day. It wasn't designated because it was industrialized and it was more developed, so it was not allowed. So when we started the study, we were not allowed we were continued to not allowed to do Easton in Phillipsburg. Only recently did we come back and say, we are doing everything, and we added the Bushkill Creek back in, and we added the Lehigh. So I'm gonna be revisiting Slateford.
Yeah, we won't fight
Yeah.
over it, but it's just in our township, when we're talking about water, it's like, we keep harping on the Slateford Creek, just because Portland's getting all their water from that area.
So let's, yes,
And it is an EV stream already.
yes. Yes,
And then when you have a moment, I'd like to ask you about Jacoby.
go ahead.
It's not free flowing. What do you do about Jacoby?
Where does it stop?
Well, it's got the dam by.
It has a trickle.
Yeah, it has a trickle.
Does it have a
You
trickle?
So as long as
Trickle.
there's water flowing over dams, because it has
Exactly,
about 3 dams on it,
trickle.
3 that come to mind.
They keep flowing.
Well, is that part of that they were pre-act? Like, I thought, what I understood you to say before, if they're already there, but like you couldn't be putting any more, is that?
It's fine, it's not even yes, we're not gonna be putting any new dams up, that is a part of this, they will not be doing that. But it doesn't matter that they're there, it doesn't hurt this.
On that subject though, I mean, so there's a dam on our property on the Jacoby Creek,
Excellent.
and the water flows over the top of it, so we're good. But what if we wanted to stop it? Now, obviously, we're not going to, and there's an easement on our deed that says you can't stop the flow of the Jacoby Creek. But supposing there wasn't, you said that this has no teeth. So if a private property owner wants to dam their creek, they can.
Section 7 is not about the dam. The Section 7 is about reviewing for those outstandingly remarkable values.
Mhm.
So that part has no teeth. Get specific. There's something about dams that I haven't bothered to go learn about because I haven't been asked this question, but that's a different something in the act.
So there probably is some other part of the
I
act that
think
says
there
you're not
is
allowed to
teeth.
dam.
Yeah, I think there's teeth.
So if.
So I correct myself.
That
So-
would be like, I think DEP would probably.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, yeah.
You'd have to
Yeah, I
pass the
get
district
that.
down after.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They would stop me, but I'm just, hypothetically,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no,
assuming
it's a
I
great-
were one of these, redneck gun toting, I don't
Yep.
like the federal government guys,
Yep.
which I'm not.
Yep.
I'm all in favor of it. But hypothetically, if I wanted to either, dam it up or put a nuclear power station on my
Right.
property or whatever else it is, this particular designation isn't gonna affect that. It might no longer be able to be so designated after I had done that.
No, there is no such thing as undesignated.
No?
Nope. Once you're designated, you're designated. There is nothing in the act that, pulls designation.
Okay, that's good to know.
But no, I do think there's something where you're not gonna be in the act itself that doesn't rely on DEP, that prohibits the dams. I'm gonna have to get back to you.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like
the
that.
reason I'm
Great,
asking is
thank you.
because the naysayers will say, well, you say that it doesn't affect my rights as a property owner.
Correct.
But it actually does.
Correct. And I need to get clarity on that
Okay.
for that reason. Great.
Yeah, and just rest assured, I'm not going to stop the flow of it.
You're not building a nuclear power plant.
Doesn't the state regulate all free-flowing bodies of water?
DEP won't, but the question is the act, you're
Yeah,
asking
Yeah.
well,
specific,
yeah, but then
yes,
even for the road crew, just to put a drainage pipe in,
Yes.
they gotta go jump over
Yes.
hoops and barriers. and
yes,
You just don't go into a
you're
creek and
going to
start,
court,
Yeah.
start
you're
digging
going to
things
court,
up.
And what-
DEP's taking it.
While we're on the legislative stuff, did the recent Supreme Court decision about what's a designated federal waterway have any impact on this, or is this a completely separate matter?
It's completely separate. Charlie?
Your interpretation of free flowing, I think, is different than what I would use. Free flowing is undammed.
Free flowing for the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act is a trickle. So-
Spoonful going over.
Yes.
So a
But you
question-
can stop with these dams that exist, like the Ackerman Dam and the Hagerman Dam and Jacoby Creek and whatever the one is, Flory Dam down below. There's times in really dry seasons when there's maybe a trickle going over those things.
There's a reason there's a reason it's down to trickle, so that we can get to exactly that. Is there a trickle?
I won't debate it.
So then that would be the same, cause I wondered about all the farm ponds we have. The water's coming in, but it's going out. It's just a portion of it is held up for a little while.
Right.
And that again is DEP or our, Northampton County Conservation District, that
Right.
they have to go through all those regulations. So,
Right.
okay, alright.
Except in extreme drought, you do not have water going over those. You have enough surface evaporation from these ponds, and they can be regulated by DEP, but there's times, August of a dry year, you don't have flow going over it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So if there are times where there's no trickle, we have to make note of this, and I have to triple check the no trickle possibility at times of extreme drought.
If there's a trickle at all in the year, it's designated, I'm guessing. But like, even if it's like intermittent, like that's kinda like what you're saying, it's like
Yeah.
intermittent. So like there's
I
times
knew
where
the
there's-
answer to this, like, sometime last year, and,
Yeah.
and I can't commit to it right now because I haven't reviewed this in a while.
Yeah, but are you asking if that still qualifies then? If
No,
it's
it may be a
like-
disqualifier,
It might be.
it might be. It might be. But I have to go back and check, I mean, there's so much to this.
So I read the other side of it, which is vernal pools, which is most of the year, it's not a body of water, but occasionally in the spring when things melt and whatever else, it's temporarily a body of water.
Right.
And that would not,
Correct,
but,
definitely not.
so,
Be
to
half
my
of our
mind, I
township.
think it makes sense if it is free flowing, if it has, there's a difference between spring fed and there's a difference between, that's why all the ones that are glacially created or whatever make a difference, so, I don't think, I think if it has flow at any time during the year, it would make sense, but I haven't read that. so
I
don't-
I can't
don't know.
commit. Yep, we gotta get back to you on that one.
Alright.
Okay, so let's, so here's the process recap. We're in the process of identifying these, waters, reaching out to the watersheds and the residents, making sure we get the right support, going in for the municipal support. So once once you guys do pass this resolution, assuming we're optimistic that such would occur, then, when we're ready, we will then be going to your state representatives. Ann Flood does know that we're doing this.
Is she in support of it?
She's not either support or not support. I just didn't even open it up for I'm letting the representatives know
Yeah.
that there will be municipalities asking for this.
Gotcha.
So usually how that goes is if there's a municipality asking, they could write a letter of support for what the municipality's asking. They wouldn't be saying,
To our representatives.
yes,
Gotcha.
yes, yeah, the representative wouldn't be saying, we support this in Portland if Portland didn't want that.
Right, right.
So it usually, I don't believe it would be a problem.
They'll just usually go along with whatever they want.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Then that goes to county, Northampton County is aware of this,
That's okay.
and then it goes to our congressional representative, Susan Wild, she is
Yeah.
aware of this, yes, she knows very much about the Wild and Scenic Program, and she knows I'm up to this. And then the National Park Service does their thing with it, and off it goes to Congress. And it gets attached to some bill that they might pass someday, if we're lucky. But, we're at least a year out from that part.
That's a good estimate.
Yeah, yep, and that's what we got going. And my phone number, no, my email address is on there, if you guys had any questions. Okay, what else?
Have you gone to Easton and talked to them about this?
No,
Are you going to their environmental advocacy committee, or are you going to the full council?
I don't know what we're doing yet. So what we did is, because we have a relationship with Northampton County, I started with the county. They needed to know anyway what I'm up to in their towns about their resources.
Yeah.
So, right when this started, I reached out to them, and we finally, once we added Easton, I said, okay, now's the time I need to get here. And we've had a discussion about how to approach Easton. So, and we also agreed that since Warren County already was supportive of this whole thing, and they want Phillipsburg to be involved, and we already had a meeting set up with Phillipsburg, they also thought it wasn't such a bad idea to go through the Phillipsburg process first.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I like to build on solid foundations. Okay, so, any other questions?
I have one. When you talk about the section 7 and like the federal projects, you said like DEP permit.
Yes.
So like if any like private project triggers a DEP permit, is that what you're talking about, or is that like?
They could, but they don't want to. They got lots of bigger,
Yeah.
better things to do with their time.
So it has to be like if the feds are coming in and like doing some sort of remediation or like whatever.
Well, so if a private citizen wanted to put a dock out to the middle of the river, and they're gonna get a permit for a flood hazard, I don't know what they're called in Pennsylvania, on ours it's flood hazard, permits and freshwater permits. DEP's gonna knock you down anyway. They're not gonna let you put a dock out in the
If
middle.
it's like a big project,
Like a pipeline or something
yeah,
like that.
like
Yeah,
then it would
it
go.
would have to, yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
So the scale counts.
definitely,
Okay.
yep.
When you said it's designated forever.
Yes.
Even if the municipality would try to pull out later.
Once you're a pickle, you're a pickle. Yep.
That's good though.
Well, I wanna thank Tara for coming, and I just wanna and I'll let you answer the question, but I just wanna let everybody know, I forgot to say it in the beginning, that we were recording this, and, I'll ask Chris later for, I think it's on YouTube, but I'll ask for, the designation on how we can get to it. Because the point was, I wanted more people to get to hear it that might be able to come to the meeting tonight. So, thank you, Chris, and we'll let you know when it's out there, when it goes live, as they say.
So, did anybody feel like they might wanna join me on the internet and play around with the resolution?
That was what my question was gonna be. What resources are you actually looking for?
We would, to meet together and, while I'm looking at your resources, you're helping me understand it all. So we would be spending the time, I can show you what I'm doing, like we could pick one of them, pick one of your tributaries, and go through the criteria. And then to the extent that you're comfortable and said, wow, that's easy, I can do this on my own, and pick a block of time, you're welcome to go off and go down the checklist yourself.
I'd love to be part of
He's
that.
a good one.
I knew right away.
Yeah,
The fish,
yeah.
the whatever, you know, the
Tom
water,
is a great
streams,
resource for that.
great.
Great, and it's
For sure,
fun, I mean, for
fire.
those that like it, it's really
Yes.
interesting.
So it's all internet research,
I
it's
run
not
the,
like actually going
Yeah,
out?
no field.
Co-director of the kayak anglers of Eastern PA.
What, and you're using, what are you-
Because this needs to be able to be verifiable.
Right, but what, I don't know what I'm trying to ask, like, what mapping program are you
Oh,
using?
the DEP has, GIS maps. So you
Okay.
pick a category and your waters get a different color because they're trout producing or they're trout stock.
Right,
Then you pick a state-owned, up comes a color, and you know that's, fits the criteria for other agencies are already investing in managing this resource. So you check a box, another color, you go to the list, check it off. Some people say, no way. Other crazy people go, yeah, give me more of this.
wait, so if it's already in a database though, what are we exactly doing?
We're synthesizing that into a checklist, into like a sheet for each tributary,
Okay,
so that,
So is that for when we finally do send it off to Congress?
Correct.
It's all put together and no one there has to like check the work?
well, the National Park Service will create a study report.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're doing our part so that we can present it to your municipality.
That goes
And
in
you,
the resolution.
the
right?
resolution, and your municipality is the one pretty much saying, they trust Tom. But, no, but they're pretty much saying, yeah, this makes sense, this looks like, this is us.
Yeah.
This is us, and we support this for these reasons. So then, I don't need to explain anything, and you don't need to explain anything
Right.
to the next person who's gonna have this. And it's consistent because we've done this on both sides of the river the same way, so they can then go put that into it'll be a study that shows this is what was looked at, this is why, and how it
Yeah.
worked.
So do we have any more volunteers who are good at computers? Or like a few of us?
I could probably do some of this. I was
Excellent.
thinking you could just like, couldn't you automate this and then just write a program to figure out all this stuff?
Would you?
I mean, it should be pretty easy.
For you?
Yeah, I can do that, sure.
Oh.
I'll work on that. Yeah, but anyway, I will do it manually if necessary.
So,
But I have to do
no,
10
I
calls
would love
before
that, I mean, can you make a form for us?
well, it depends on what you want. I'll have to see
So
the
we'll have to
output and
meet,
the-
so, yeah, so, can I get your,
I know how to get it.
you guys reach out to me, you can find me?
I think I have your emails, I can email it to you tomorrow.
Thank
Crank that Henry twelve.
You know where to find me, you know where to find me.
I got you.
That's great.
No, I love it.
knew
He
right
loves it.
away, yeah.
He made it a point that I'm attending tonight. I just said, I just lost my husband. He's gonna dive into this.
Look, I get to geek out about macro invertebrates
Yes.
and others fish
Exactly.
bait, like I'll do that all day long.
Yeah.
Wonderful, well,
Aren't you
thank
supposed to
you,
be in a meeting noon, kinda?
well, thank you,
Oh, thank you.
I was trying to, was the Martin Jacoby meeting.
Yeah,
I-
Allison.
I wasn't making the connection, I was like, I know I don't.
Okay.
Well, thank you,
Well,
see you
thank
guys
very
soon,
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
good night.
Thanks a
Good
lot.
night.
See ya, good to
To
see
May
ya.
13th,
Yeah,
right?
see you soon, bye, good night.
Thank you.
Come, you stay.
No, I'm hang out for a little bit.
Okay.
So I'll jump now, if there's courtesy of the floor or any public comments before we go into Joel's discussion on the GIS for EACs. Anybody have anything else pertinent? Okay, so.
Judy, are you going to mention next Wednesday night, the Well Ordinance Committee is holding a meeting to discuss hopefully the final version of the well ordinance,
I'm glad you're here because I didn't realize it was next Wednesday night, I'm
the
sorry.
8th.
Oh, that got settled? That was okay? I thought it was.
Well,
Okay, we'll go without
That's
them.
where
Okay.
we're going right now.
Wednesday here at 7 o'clock will
Yes,
be,
David's coordinating it, he's gonna advertise it, and we may have a well driller here again.
we did, everybody read it, we did talk about it at the last meeting, and we were all thinking that was, you know, update it and include everybody. There's no reason why large, users should be excluded. So, yeah, anybody who wants to come, you're more than welcome. Hopefully we'll get that to its final draft, so it goes to the supervisors. So, okay, May 8th at 7 for Will. Okay, and then I'm gonna throw this over to Dole for all of it, because, we
Well,
both were on a webinar.
You jump in too if I say something wrong.
Oh, no, you know more than, no, we went to there was a webinar, it was a, Zoom meeting, GIS for EACs, and it was presented by someone from Easton. So they were looking at all the little small areas around the city that they could plant, that's fine. We're a rural area, we got a lot of stuff, we could do a lot of things,
Yeah.
and I won't hit Charlie up, but one of them could be where well sites are,
Right. You-
yeah.
But you gotta pay for it, that's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's,
And, there was two, online softwares that they recommended, was QGIS, which was free, but they said it was a steep learning curve.
It
And
is.
and it required a dedicated member to run the mapping system. So, that's the one, but that's free. And the other one was ArcGIS, but has a cost, it's $120 for for 2 years, or expires after 2 years, and then you have to pay for data, which is 100 or 1,000 block credit package, which I'm not sure what that means. I reached out to Irina from We Could Serve, she was one of the
okay.
people hosting the webinar. So, it just depends on what kind of mapping you wanna do, if you wanna do certain projects, if you wanna map out the dams, or certain trees and, or preserve land, or it's gonna cost,
it's
or
gonna cost, and
it's
that's.
gonna cost, that's the problem.
So that would be basically prioritizing what are really important. I mean, like I said, at the well ordinance, yeah, maybe they've got, if they still have the data, they have, addresses. Some people, it's just, the address is in there, but we don't know if they ever, tried to drill a well or whatever. But the idea of having a map, I mean, years ago when we first looked at this, it was sort of, oh, the road crew, now you can tell where all your culverts were, and when was the last time you upgraded them, and all this and that. You could get crazy with it, but at a cost. So, you were talking with Nick a little bit?
Nick.
You were gonna come out,
Oh, yeah, Nick,
Yeah,
yeah,
manager.
well, yeah, I didn't talk to him anything about the
Oh, okay.
GIS system, I just talked about the website with him.
So it's something to think about, cause you can get crazy with it. I'm
Yeah.
thinking all the preserved farms, and everybody's complaining, not everybody, I should not use that word. People complain about the 319 properties, and I'm thinking 319 properties that connected to either open space or farmland make corridors. So it gives the open space people something to look at. But again, that's not a priority, so to speak.
Well,
Well, if I may, speaking for the open space guys, I guess,
Yeah,
how many
I
open
forgot.
space members are here? There's the program and there's the data. And so if you can use something like ArcGIS, the value of a tool like that is that there are lots of overlays from all sorts of different organizations. So you've got lots of information that you don't have to enter. Because nobody's gonna sit down and enter every single well or all that kind of stuff. It has to come from somewhere. The ingestion of a database of well coordinates, for argument's sake, would need to be ingested in an automated manner. You wouldn't hand enter that kind of stuff. And, the zoning map, for example, a township zoning map is a disaster. Why don't we have that in a GIS?
Well,
The open space stuff, we're always discussing, which property is preserved in which manner, where the wetlands are, where the tributaries are, where the watersheds are, where the aquifers are. All of that's available, where all of the geology is available, but it costs money to get it if it's not from, some government site that makes this available free. So having the township have access to something like ArcGIS with an appropriate data package to bring in the overlays that are useful to the various different committees and organizations and the manager makes a lot of sense, but, a proper cost estimate has to be done in terms of, how much data do you have to pay for to make it useful, and who is actually gonna use it? Because I could tell you, I'm not a geologist or a geographer or anything like that. Driving it is non-trivial. It's a powerful tool, but it's not got a steep learning curve as far as I can tell. So it also needs somebody who knows how to use it properly to get any value from it.
Well, Dole showed us a map right at the beginning.
Well-
I mean, the county has a lot
Yeah.
of GIS information.
They did. And I was talking to Irina from We Can Serve, and if you want basic maps of just what's out there, if it's United States preserved land, farmland preserved, county preserved, federal preserved, it's all out there, and she showed me how I could get it for free through their website.
Okay.
So-
But can you bring it in and consolidate it with?
That's the problem, I don't know, and
Mhm.
I didn't get in real deep with her, but, she said you can also find out parcels, who owns the properties. I didn't get into it real deeply though. But I also got a map from Farmland Preservation, an updated map
Mm, okay.
for Upper Mount Bethel. Just a basic map that shows our,
Yeah,
Is that already made or did they
that's
make
already
it?
made.
We used to
So-
get them before TNC or whatever, and Maria would send
Yeah,
them.
right.
Well,
Did We
that's
Can
another
Serve
extremely
make
important
that?
point.
No, Farmland, I got this from Farmland Preservation.
Okay.
Well, I can get a somewhere map made from We Can Serve, it's real simple, she showed me how to do it,
Yeah.
and it's free. But if you wanna do certain
Okay.
projects where you get into something deep, marking out like wells or dams or whatever you wanna mark out,
Yeah.
you know, then you're paying for it, you're paying for that.
Yeah, no, I just threw that out because I know the well,
Right.
there's no, if the well driller put the information in the spreadsheet like he should have and put enough information in, great. It's not always on the state one, and I know that's something we've been sort of discussing at the well. Wouldn't it be nice to know where all that,
Right.
because the Martin Jacoby Watershed, when the 5-year period, it was a partner as a nonprofit with the Wild and Scenic, that's when we got that $17,500 as a match for the study that was done in 2011. And I remember them saying, okay, but now you have to keep your data up to date. If you don't, you're basically in 10 or 20 years gonna have to start this all over again, to go out and see where the wells are, who's drilling, because sometimes wells are drilled, and that was just something that came down through the watershed. Supervisor Eiler isn't here. Blue Triton, which used to be Nestle, had drilled a bunch of wells, and they're just at DRBC, maybe 8th. And they wanna use one of the wells as a backup for what they have, which is always scary. Like, okay, you're already drawing a lot of water out of, I guess it's Washington Township now, but, now you got this other well, just in case, yeah.
So I don't know if it's something that we should bring up to Nick or the supervisors, if it's something that we wanna purchase down the road. If the township wants to utilize it, mark it out, like you said, drainage pipes.
Do
Yeah.
they offer any training programs?
We could serve, will help you out. I don't know if there's a cost or anything, but sure.
Right. And
Yes.
down the road, maybe we can get grants from the Wild and Scenic, you know,
Yeah.
for something, especially if it's dealing with water, streams, and all of that. Yeah, Chris?
To be fair, ArcGIS really doesn't, you don't need training. If you know
That's
how
what
to
she
use
said.
a web browser, you sit down with it for 20 minutes, you can figure it
And that's
out.
what she said too. She said the hard one was the QGIS, and
Not familiar with that one, but.
I've used that one for work and it's
Yeah.
not easy. I'm still trying to figure it out and I've been using it for weeks.
so that's the info I have on it. And I
Okay.
didn't mention anything to Nick about it or,
No, that's okay. Thank you.
But the Open Space Board would support any effort in this direction, but I think Nick would see the value of it himself. But the other people to contact are the county, because I mean, I'm sure Northampton County uses it, Sherry probably uses it all the time. So, they may have recommendations as to, what program, what package, and what data they can provide, I don't know. But
It's a good point. I think we should figure out if we have to buy something to like overlay it, because, I mean, when I worked in Monroe County mostly, but like the county has a lot. So like, do we have to even pay for it, or are you like wanting to like see everything on top of each other? And do we have to like pay for it to do that? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's what I would be curious about.
Yeah.
And the zoning officer may
And
have
getting
input
the
on
like
this too.
exact costs before we even like, cause if we have to go approach and get approval for money, they're gonna wanna know down to the penny what this is gonna cost. So I
Right.
think every step of like the process should be mapped out in money, unfortunately, because that's where our major roadblock will be anyway.
You're also gonna need to build a business case for how you're gonna use it and what,
Yeah.
to what end, right?
Right. And
here's
that's,
what it's gonna cost, here's what the benefit is, here's why.
I mean, right now, I see we have a good collaboration here between open space and EAC, but if we can say, well, the road crew can use this, but the road crew, that gets into a lot of things which could be expensive. But, you know, other
Yeah, I mean,
committees, I don't know who else would have a need right
I was
now.
gonna say, let's try to figure out how the town, let's
Would
make it,
benefit from
yeah,
it, from-
almost like how when you're getting your child to do something, you're gonna really benefit from this if you do it this way, right? Cause I think if we go in and just say, it's for this, they're gonna just not wanna spend the money.
Yeah, I think we need to know how much it costs and like what capabilities we have with it that we can't get already from like free resources. Cause I think there are a lot of free resources out there.
Okay.
There should be. I don't know, in Monroe
I-
County there's a lot, I don't know about in Northampton, but
I don't know.
Well, I can send a link to the We Can Serve website where Irina directed me to get all these free
Yeah.
maps that I can create. But like I said, they're just general basic maps.
Right.
Right.
And I think if we wanna move down to this other program, we should probably not keep saying that we can get free resources, cause then while it would benefit us to have this other program, they may not see that same benefit if we are saying there's free resources. You know, like it just,
Undercut your own argument.
yeah.
All right, so with the two of you from EAC and maybe talking to Dave every once in a while, would you look into it and just see what you would do?
I forget, did they say that they would host, like if a township wanted to
They
get
would
into
come?
this, they would come and talk about it?
I don't remember, did they send a recording?
Yeah, they did.
No, I get
I'll
so
look it
many
up.
things,
I'll
yeah.
see if, cause, you know,
I mean, what they were doing, and no offense to a
Yeah.
town or Easton, but they were,
doing little projects like
Little pro-
landscaping projects
yeah,
and.
landscaping projects that have some trees and bushes in spots they could find. I
Mhm.
mean, we're like all over the place, we're a
Yeah.
big township, we got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And how do we pull that down into what would be most beneficial to these other things we're trying to do, which is why I just jumped on the well ordinance thing. But finding the information for the wildland scenic, like Charlie said, are there dams, I was trying to think, are there dams on Jacoby?
Here again,
You know,
you're probably not
the
gonna
one
tell.
came through and broke through, but with, where Dave is, it's going over it, so, and is that pre-act designation, so that would be helpful to have some of that on there, if we could do that,
Should probably make a list of the things you're on there about.
yeah. Any other ideas? I always look to you, cause you did the watershed,
Okay, you can
master
pass these
watershed
down.
project.
You keep them.
well, this is the part of like that
Maybe.
we can serve, but people on Earth have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, would having farm ponds be beneficial? Cause you know, you always say that, well, they did them because it was for fire, protection. Farm. Yeah, I don't know. Because we already have farm properties listed.
Right. That might be a good thing to happen up.
Well, I think the fire company has some of that. I mean, on Google Earth, all the farm ponds show up anyway, but then the fire companies know
Would need to
where
know.
the sources are, at least that can find them.
Okay. That and what streams are,
Or maybe they
Right.
just do it by what they know, and having mapping of it would be beneficial to them also.
Place to check, they might be able to.
Cause they go out every so many years and check and make sure they have access to what they need.
okay. Any other ideas?
I can reach out to that Irina from We Can Serve and get more info from her.
Right. From everything I have learned over the time, if you really have a good cohesive group and you have willing officials and you wanna start and do a project, whether it's new or jumping onto something that's been fallen by the wayside, there are a lot of people that wanna help you. Because they need the credit for having, their program for being beneficial and working also. So, we have a good way, to get back into the graces of some of these groups and organizations, like, hey, we're back in there again, folks, anyone else? Well, that'll be something we can talk about next meeting, because I have down here, what are your future goals, projects, or educational programs, written or digital? I mean, some of you guys are really good at digital and you wanna do different things, which, great, go for it, because I get so frustrated with even you. And so, well, one of the things would be eventually talking about the Wild and Scenic program and getting some of that information out. I don't know where you got with Nick or Cindy on that, on the website.
On the website, well, they already created an EAC tab for us.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna make another tab for us, but we gotta come up with what we wanna call it, for where we're putting all our articles or all our information we're gonna put on.
Okay.
So there's gonna be an additional tab, and then you can open up our articles with a PDF, so, but we have to come up with a name, so, I don't know,
Get thinking, people.
informational articles or
Yeah.
educational topics, I don't know, whatever you wanna call it, but
I don't
we have to let Cindy know.
Yeah, EAC.
Do we want it to be educational or can it be informational? Cause I'm thinking,
Yeah, a little both.
You know,
I
just-
mean, sometimes just straight information, but then every once in a while, a little bit of, not storytelling, but just more information in a way that people, it's easy for them to read and understand and take in information, so. But,
well,
yeah,
then if we call it something, it has to be a word that encompasses both
yeah.
wider than informational or educational.
Oh,
You guys decide. I'm not good with words.
Other.
Other
I
topics.
that's why I just said EAC for you.
Yeah, it's like a tab
EAC
under
for
the
you
EAC
is
tab.
anything.
They have our minutes and the board members, and there's gonna be just another tab with
Right,
our articles. and
right now
topics.
it's agendas, minutes, and
Yeah.
members.
Yeah,
So will it be under that
it'll be under that,
drop down
Yep.
kinda?
and there's an
Well, is
additional
Cindy
tab.
gonna take, so you're gonna send the minutes to Cindy and then cause I sent them out in Word, so is she gonna PDF
Doesn't
them before
matter.
she puts?
I've
Yeah, I
sent
think she
you-
PDFs.
Okay.
But, yeah, if you want me to send them this time, then Alex is doing the minutes, you can send them directly, after we approve them, next meeting, you can send them directly from her. You don't
Okay.
have to be doing everything. And she's really right on it when you send it in, oh, thanks, and then she gets it right up there. She's the one that puts a lot of this on the web, unless it's really complicated and Stavros has to get in there and do something or other.
And the ones I wrote for the first meeting, those are already
We
Zoomed?
approved them at the last meeting and I already sent them to her.
Okay, they were sent, okay.
Yeah, cause she wanted to get something up there, and I forgot Monday, and then I heard that Doe was gonna be in talking to Nick on Tuesday, and I said, oh my gosh, Tuesday morning, you better get these in there to her. It was the 3 agendas, the minutes, I think that was all, and then I'd asked about our, letters of intent. We can put that under memberships. So the only thing under memberships right now is the offices and then what our term is. Cause we all had different terms that they kind of threw out there. Because a lot of people ask that, like, oh, well, whose term is up or whatever, but you can always, ask to be reappointed. So, but that's what's up there now. So any help? Any ideas then for a name? Or you wanna sleep on it and email Dole tomorrow?
Let's sleep on
So,
it.
yeah, let me know. I
Yeah,
don't
we
think it's a
don't-
big rush for Cindy.
Yeah,
but
we
We
don't
don't have
have-
anything written
we
up
don't-
anyway.
Right, we
Yeah.
don't have anything right now written.
So we can
But,
wait until next meeting if you want to.
Well, does it have to be something that we write or can it be a link to something that exists?
It could be a link too.
Yeah, and that could be
Yeah.
helpful.
It would
I
just be a
mean-
bunch of, well, you know,
I mean, what, like, for example, the information just came out in the last week or so about the sojourn. And I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
information is useful for residents since it always comes right through the township and it's, I think that would be informational just to let people know what's going on, the dates and when they're gonna be in the township or whatever.
Okay.
So.
I think a link will be fine too. If you go on the township website and see how they have things set up and how she puts minutes in, they're all PDFs. That's how it's probably gonna be.
Okay, alright.
It's gonna be like
Okay.
a year and then a whole bunch of blue tabs you can click on, if it's a
Okay.
PDF or a link.
I have looked at some stuff. not too
And I
much.
think someone was gonna say she can change it into PDF, I mean, other than Bill, I think I heard that before, so. And if not, she'll get back to you and say, yeah.
Well, it was just a struggle for me, cause Alex PDF'd it, so when I wanted to pick up her template, you know, I
Oh,
couldn't
did
do
I
it,
PDF'd it?
because I don't pay for it.
Yeah.
But I noticed, well, I thought it was good, because I just came up with this, which is pretty bland and blah, but that you put, like with the watershed, you have the location and the time. For the,
I think she did.
did you do
I
that
just
too?
tried to follow
Mhm.
what she
Mm,
did.
Okay. Anyhow, okay.
Well, there's one
Alright.
other thing Cindy said, if we want our own emails, and I said I'd comment. If we-
No.
All of our own
Yeah.
email.
Hey, we
No.
went, it's not worth it.
I get enough, I don't need
I
this.
know,
Yeah, okay.
so we'll have to do that, so that's all I have.
Okay, good. And then we will do this topic again, if anybody has any ideas as we go along the next week or two before, try to get the agenda out the week before the meeting. So, we can see how things are coming along with the well committee and whatever else is going on with the township.
So because the meeting is next week, that means that some of the reservations that you, mentioned last month have been taken care of? No, okay.
No, Charlie tried to set up a meeting for May 8th, and a person who was not being helpful, I shouldn't say that, couldn't make it, and I think Charlie just got, and Dave's been trying to get it to the supervisors, and they're like, look, we can't let this go on forever. And Charlie was talking to a well driller, now we did have one in here months ago, but another well driller to read the whole thing and say, from your perspective as your job, does this make sense to you, or is there something we do, what we're doing that is just either redundant or not necessary? Because, as we said, our state doesn't have really much in the regulation on well drilling, really. So we'll go over that, it'll be hopefully the last round of the draft for the well ordinance. And you all have a copy, so it hasn't changed since you saw it.
Go into that? Is that what
No, you don't have to, Charlie just,
Okay, I just didn't know if like last meeting we
he's
said we
just
were-
looking for support, for
Gotcha,
people to
okay.
comment like, yeah, okay, somebody's listening to this, whatever. Okay, anything else for the good of the, any other questions? Any other comments?
regarding like the website. I know I said this before, I think I played around with it. I can make like a free like website that has like other features, but I don't know if that would be something we would want or if that would be confusing if there's already like the township website.
We
Yeah.
had this issue with the preserve in the
Yeah.
open space, and back under the previous administration, the social media policy was introduced, and it was sort of like dealing with, Nazi Germany. But, for the preserve, because we had a private contractor doing the plan, we managed to get permission from the supervisors, for an exception, to set up a separate website that they created. And now we manage, I think it's in WordPress or something.
Right, that's what I was
commodity.
thinking, like WordPress, and like
Right.
just put some of this other,
However,
like maps, or like if we got some like GIS thing, you can use it for that type of thing,
yeah,
but
and you
I
can
don't
put whatever
know.
resources and links and so on you want,
Right.
and it's sort of detached and probably prettier and easier to
Yeah,
navigate
exactly.
than the township website, but you need to get permission from the supervisors to do it, or,
Separately, or are you
maybe
talking
not.
about separately and not what Dole's been talking in?
yes,
the-
not within the
It would be
township.
linked, like we could link it on the township website, like underneath the EAC, but then once you click it, it would go to
Go
like a
to-
different,
Just
Like how the
like-
preserve is.
Just
Yeah.
kinda like how the
Preserve
preserve is,
does.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Does that mean you would need to get it approved?
Oh,
If it's
definitely.
going
For
forward,
it,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
However, the new supervisors may have a completely different view on this, and I can't speak for them, so.
Yeah, I know, there's just so much going on now that, and I do know, when this came up before, our solicitor was very, very not, he just saw all the problems, which that's his job, basically, all the issues that can come up with people getting on. If you don't allow comments or anything, and you're just putting out information,
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking like a Facebook page
Yeah, no,
or
no,
anything
no.
like that, but yeah, if it's not even, like, is it gonna be useful? I don't know, cause if we just wanna put like, articles or like maps that are just a PDF, then is it really that helpful? I'm not sure, but it might be, like, if you wanna do like educational things
Yeah.
and make it a little bit more interactive, there's a little bit more capabilities
and you
on
could
that
put something-
without the comments. I do
No,
not
no,
want
no, no.
public comments,
just
that kind of thing.
articles or information, a couple of pages, because I'm thinking now, when, years ago, when EAC would go down to the fire hall when Rich Priscilla had his, the town hall for seniors or whoever, EAC set up one of those, tables, and we had the maps at the time, which were the GIS maps that were new at the time. People just love to look at maps and see where they are. Where they are according to that farmer's pond or this stream or whatever. And people like that. And I think the more of that we can have. So this wouldn't be like the Don't Flush Facebook page is limited to only the people who are signed up to be on it.
No,
This website will be open.
This is open,
That they can
informational,
just-
strictly informational, not,
Coming
it's
from-
not like conflict-y,
Right,
it's,
yeah,
it's
no.
nothing like that.
Coming from the township site.
Coming from the township
Okay.
site, it would just be like, resources, but like in a way that we don't necessarily have to have everything in PDF. Like if there's something that
Right.
comes up that's, a link to like a different, I don't know, like if there's like a mapping system or something we wanna put on there, we could. If there's like videos, you can
Well,
like
you can
watch
have
the videos on it.
Things like this or.
Right.
Right, it's just, it's a little bit, it'd be prettier, and it's a little bit more user-friendly than going and
Oh, yeah.
downloading every single PDF.
Yeah, okay.
So that's really what it is. At this point in time, I don't really know if we have like a super need for it, but if we start doing a lot of stuff, it might be easier to manage than sending everything and having it on this like long list of links for Cindy. But, yeah, I don't know. We can talk about it later.
No, I'll let
Just a thought.
you guys work it out and we'll see, bring it to us at the next meeting and see how far we can go with it.
Okay.
And, cause the sooner we get going, the more people are out there and seeing, oh yeah, they are working on things, or I didn't understand what that was all about, but I just saw this article that
There's a HDMI thing. Like I could even like make an example one for the next meeting and then just like throw it up and show everybody what it would look like.
Okay,
if
that would be
makes
great.
sense.
Okay. All right. So that covers that, public question and answer? That's it, you're done. Okay, 8:30. 8:30, or do we want to adjourn? Okay. We don't need to, so I'll put it